So, okay. Well,
All right.
oh, we got the ducks. Oh boy. Okay.
Okay. And
Great.
and my announcement too, just to let everybody know, so it's not a big secret. We are recording this meeting, so so you're on record here. Okay. So with that, that's all of the announcements that I actually have. I wanted to go ahead and get the meeting underway here because we do have a lot on the agenda. You remember last week we had Herb Benenson giving us the all the inside information on what was going on, how we got the UCLA game. And so we've got a couple of guests tonight. In a little bit, we're going to hear from Hank Waddles from to hear the Stanford side of things. And but right now, I would like to introduce from the athletic department, Will Cooper, who Will has been a great friend of the Grid Club and has helped us out a lot, and always welcome here. So, Will, tell us what's going on.
Perfect. Appreciate it. Glad to be here. Glad to always good to hang with Sacramento. I was thinking about it today. I was like, man, it would have been so awesome, if things weren't like they were to, have an event at the firehouse and, come to some grid club meetings. And I just miss those days. So hopefully we'll get back to that soon. So to move on to get to some of the announcements, let's see, I got my notes here. And just forewarning, you guys may ask some questions I may not have the answers to, but if I don't have them tonight, I'll try to get back to you. But first off, we have our graduation rate. Our student graduation rate has been the highest that it's ever been at Cal, and I'll just read a couple of notes here. We hit our GSR mark, our graduate student rate, and it's the highest it's been for the fourth consecutive year. Our score rose to 87% of our student athletes are graduating, and we had we had 6 teams that achieved 100% on that graduation rate. So that's awesome. Our student athletes are doing some amazing things. They're great at their sport, but also, just tearing it up in the classroom. We're continuing our work on returning all of our student athletes to play. All eyes are on January 1st. Just trying to make sure, our responsibility is making sure that we keep our student athletes' safety and health first and foremost. So, we're still fine tuning that return to play plan. And we're trying to make sure we're good at that January 1st mark with a bunch of, those winter sports and coming back. Justin Panarisi in our office, he just joined us for Cal Athletics Fund meeting
joined the meeting
last week. And his plan, like he has this crazy Excel sheet on, when this team returns and then this team, returns at this date. And while this team will be testing and doing physicals, this team will be doing X, Y, and Z. It's just a crazy Excel sheet that he has. But we're working on that to make sure we get everybody back. Also, we just hired our first, DEI position. We just hired Dr. Ty Douglas. He's going to be Associate AD for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. And, being a diverse and equitable department is at the forefront of our strategic plan. And so this is just the beginning to make sure that we're doing that. And he's going to be on the senior staff, and we're excited to have him. He just joined us last Wednesday, I believe, for our all staff meeting. Great high energy individual. He was on a part of Mizzou's faculty, and we're happy to have him here. So moving on to more football related stuff, which I'm always excited to talk football. Big games this weekend, and I was told that the acts will be in the stadium on display believe it's going to be in the student section, and there will be members from both sides, our RallyCom and from Stanford's Spirit team. They'll be there, they'll be spaced out, but we're still going to have those traditions. We're going to have the acts there. They'll be able to meet socially distanced, and we're banking on us keeping the acts there. Moving back to the Oregon State game, I had the opportunity to listen to Coach Wilcox he was at another Grid Club meeting, I believe, for San Francisco, and I just kind of took some notes from that. The Oregon State game, as you guys could see, we had some starters out, and I believe about 3 of those were COVID related. And he did mention that some of those that were COVID related may be affected and leaning, kind of spilling over into the Stanford game. So we still will have a few of those missing because of the quarantine and Berkeley's, kind of public health policies. So Oregon State was a close game. We saw a bunch of improvements. And as they're preparing for Stanford this week, they're continuously improving. Defensively, against Oregon State, we had 2 one-play drives, and that'll get you beat. But other than that, we did some great things defensively. He talked about the tackling was better, as you guys could probably see that, and the execution was a little bit better. On that defensive end. Offensively, we moved the ball well in the first half, and he was just so proud of, we had some injuries and we had some people out on the offensive line, and we were able to do some great things with some fresh faces. It was some guys that had to really step up and that had never, gotten much playing time, and they stepped in and played well. So that's a testament to the work that they put in, and a testament to the coaching that we also have. We had chances in the red zone that we weren't able to capitalize on. There were critical errors in the special team game that really hurt us. Getting the punt blocked, he talked about that, and then having two punch returns for touchdown that got called back. You can't win ball like that. You can't win games like that. So what are the other notes here? Yeah, there were some injuries. Hopefully, Mike Safell, he's one of the anchors on the offensive line. We're working on him. He spoke as well, and he's dealing with some injuries, and we're hopeful that he can be available for this weekend against Stanford. He touched on Stanford for a little bit, and it's the typical Stanford. They have a real strong QB. They're big up front. They have a good running back. Number 20 is doing some good things. And he spoke about defensively. They've kind of changed up their scheme a little bit, but still, physical up front, and they'll be well coached. But he said that the team is excited. And that they'll be ready to play. He said, if we continue to practice like we did last week, the product that we'll be, putting on the field will continue to get, better week in and week out. So those are a few of the, kind of points that they kind of gave to me to share with the group. If there's any questions, please feel free. And again, if I can answer them, I will. But if not, I'll try my best to get the answer to you later.
Yeah, Will, a couple of questions came into chat. Rick wants to know, what is the graduation rate for the general student body?
That is a good question. I don't know that, but I can look into that. Let me see here. Yeah, I'm just trying to look back at some of the notes. Yeah, I think the graduation rate, the highest that you can get is 1,000, and for Cal Berkeley right now, for the student athletes, we're at 990 at this point. So that's just, again, a testament to to our student athletes, and I'd have to dig in a little bit more to see what the graduation rate is on campus.
And one other question from Dave. Is there going to be a bonfire outside the Greek Theater?
I would say no. I'm not sure, but I would probably guess no. And they haven't mentioned that part to us. You know, they were just talking about, you know, they talked about Rally.com and them being at the game and the acts being there, but hadn't talked about much of kind of some of those regular traditions that happens around big game.
Yeah, and Patty was mentioning, so Dave's probably answered your question, that the rally committee chair said that the cannon will be at the game. So you will hear it boom when we score, hopefully many times. Yeah, Al was just commenting too on the fact that this is really the first game where we will have a full. Well, actually, no, we won't even have a full week of preparation because this is a short week.
Yep, another short week.
Right.
And I think Greg just put something in the chat. Yeah, I'm hoping that we can get Safel back. I mean, he's that anchor on the O-line. And again, we had some guys that hadn't gotten much time. They came in and they played well, but you know, we need the Mike Safels to be that lead, to be those leaders on the offensive line. Especially when you're going against the opponent like Stanford. So,
all right, yeah, and I think you just kind of answered Greg's question about how huge would it be to have Safel back. You know? Yeah. Okay, and some comments in chat there too, so I'll direct people's attention to there. Will, thanks so much. It's great to have you. Hope to have you back.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be back next week. I think we just kind of talked through things, and I have a connection with Sacramento, so I'll be joining.
Okay, great. Hope you can stick around for
sure.
This meeting today. Yeah. Okay, great. All right. So thanks everybody for the questions, and Will, thanks again for the long drive up here to Sacramento to be with us. I got to ask you, actually, the last time you were with us, you were you were in Tennessee. Where are you today?
I'm back in the Bay Area. I got back to the Bay Area October 2nd. So I've been here.
So you've been here a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, next on the agenda, I am going to. Dave. Okay. Actually, I'm going to save that one for this one for a little later. Oh, actually, no. Will, what do you think the score is going to be?
Man, I think the score is going to be. I'm going to go 20-17 Cal.
All right. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So next, first time that we've been able to have somebody to talk about our opposition this season. We hadn't been able to get anybody, but luckily we were Nick, who is not able to be here tonight. He's going to try to come in a little bit later. Was able to arrange with Hank Waddles from, I want to get this right, Go Mighty Card. And so he is going to tell us a little bit about Stanford. So Hank, welcome to the Grid Club. Even though that you're wearing the red, we'll treat you nice. So tell us what we need to know about Stanford this year and the big game.
Well, thanks very much. Thanks for inviting me. It's always fun to talk about big game. And one of the things that, someone earlier said, wow, this is the home opener for, and it's big game. And you're right. It doesn't really feel, it's the right time of year, right? But it still feels like the season has obviously just started. And, the other thing, we got, neither team has won a game yet. That's the first time that's ever happened, in a big game. And so I feel almost as excited, I guess, as I do for a regular big game week. I know David Shaw was asked in his presser today about that, if it felt like big game week for him and for the players, and he said that once they started practicing, it did. They're obviously enough guys that have been through the game and through the week and understand the tradition and the pageantry, which of course they're not seeing any of it. I'm sure the same thing happens on the Berkeley campus, but there are just the week leading up to big game at Stanford, there are tons of different events, ranging from pep rallies to, to other types of things that are tied to big game. And obviously those things aren't happening, or are happening in some virtual context, right? But he did say that that it was feeling like big game, which is good. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like on the field, if we see um, the same emotions from from the sidelines, from the players, if it feels like a big game in that sense. That's one thing that I'm kind of curious about, but that's the way things are in 2020.
So actually, I already have a question for you here from Paul. Who are the best players for Stanford on offense and on defense?
We start with offense first. I think that the thing about the offense is that it feels like there's an awful lot of talent there, and we haven't quite seen it come to fruition just yet. Davis Mills is the quarterback, and he played in big game last year. He was KJ Costello's backup, but Costello was injured for most of the year last year, and Mills was playing. And Mills arrived at Stanford with a lot of fanfare. He was one of the top ranked, one of probably top 3 or 4 ranked quarterbacks in his recruiting class, and but he had a string of injuries. He was hurt his senior year of high school. He was hurt 2 different times just on the practice field at Stanford, and so there was questions about his development. But he I guess he's what you'd expect given that history. There are times when he'll make throws that that most college quarterbacks can't. He's just a very talented, physically talented quarterback. But he does. Last week he missed the first game because of some type of a botched COVID test. Pac-10 apologized, which always makes everybody feel better. And but he was then quarantined for the entire week leading up to the Colorado game. So he really had no practice, and so he looked really rusty. So my guess is that on Friday you'll see some throws that you'll notice, like, wow, that's a big time arm. But then you'll also probably see him throw behind an open receiver, or not make the right read. Things like that just will kind of belie his lack of playing time, lack of field experience. The wide receivers are something to watch for. I mean, Stanford has always kind of been known, for its tight ends. The current group of wide receivers, I think by everyone's in agreement, this is the best group of wide receivers that Stanford has ever had. And there isn't a true star, but it's just an incredibly deep group. Simi Fehoko is an NFL player. He'll play wide receiver in the NFL. Connor Weddington is. They kind of use him in a few different places. He was recruited as a running back, converted to a wide receiver. So you'll see him in the backfield sometimes. Austin Jones, running back, number 20, was mentioned a little bit earlier, is young. He's just a sophomore, but he's coming. Like, I think that he'll be the next really good Stanford running back. The offense has been kind of hit or miss. And again, it's hard to know. We just like Cal, we've only had 2 games, and so I'm really curious to see what the offense looks like on Friday. The defense is a work in progress, to say the least. And the great Stanford teams of 5, 6, 7 years ago were built on great defenses, and that hasn't been the case for a few years. Recruiting has kind of tailed off a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. A player to watch for is Thomas Booker, defensive end. He's a great kid by all accounts, someone who's going to, whether it's in the NFL or in politics, somebody who's going to make a difference down the line. He's a strong player. He's been doing a good job getting into the backfield, opposing backfields. He's probably the best player on that side. Gabe Reed is a linebacker. The linebackers are kind of thin. There's been some injuries there. I'm concerned also about the defensive backs. Our best player, the guy who would have been the best player on the defense, Paulson Adebo, opted out of this season. And so there's questions, more questions than answers on the defensive side of the ball.
Hey, Hank, what do you see? I know there's not a whole lot to go by, a large body of work to go by, but what do you see as some of the key matchups in the game on Friday?
I think it's the offensive line, and my perception of Cal football right now is I mean, what I remember of Cal football from last year was that they just had a suffocating defense, and I know that Evan Weaver's not there anymore, and he was the heart and soul of that unit. But my expectation, just because Wilcox is a defensive minded coach, I'm assuming that the defense is still pretty good. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but so I think that the thing to watch for is the Stanford offensive line versus Cal's front seven, because the Stanford offensive line is young. Last year they were ravaged by injuries, and there were 3 true freshmen who were starting at different points in the year, which is never a good thing on the offensive line. So those guys are still there. They're pretty healthy, but again, the best player on the offense this year should have been left tackle Walker Little, but he opted out. And so, but I think that's the matchup to watch, is how is the Stanford front handling Cal's front seven, because really, again, if it goes back to what I said about the defense, the key for Stanford kind of has always been time of possession. And so if Davis Mills is on the field more than the Stanford defense, that's a good thing for Stanford.
And Greg would like to know, aside from the false positive for Davis Mills in the missed game versus Washington State, has Stanford had any significant impacts due to COVID, perhaps relative to Cal, which has had many players out for 14 days at a time due to contact tracing?
No, caught up in that same testing error was also wide receiver Connor Weddington and defensive end Trey LeBounty. And so Weddington was a big loss because he's normally in the wide receiver rotation. But up until now, there have not been any COVID issues.
Does anybody else have any questions for Hank? Big game, folks. This is your chance. Okay. So Dave is asking, the loser of the big game is probably completely out of any bowl opportunities. Would any makeup games also be played on the championship day?
I believe that's what the Pac-12 has, that everyone will be playing a game on championship weekend. Mm-hmm. And, because originally, as the decision, as the season was laid out, each team played its division rivals. It's 5 division rivals and 1 crossover game. And of course now they're trying to get games whenever they can get them. But the original plan was to play those 6 games, and then the 2 teams in the championship would play that day, and every other team would also. I believe, I don't know if it was on the same day or not, but everybody else was gonna get an extra game added to the schedule, and they didn't say how they were gonna do that, like if they were going to seed it 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, or if they were going to try to preserve some historical rivalries, like the maybe it would be great, I think, if the Bay Area schools could play the LA schools. I'm not really interested in playing Arizona or Arizona State if they're even still viable at that point, but there should be a game that weekend. That that was at least the original plan.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And Ryan's asking, will the bands be at the game?
I haven't heard anything. I know that there was a question about that in the press conference today. Oh no, the question in the press conference today was about the acts and about the acts committee of the various schools, and we heard that answer earlier, from Will. So I'd be surprised if there were if the band was there. I know probably you guys would like to see the Stanford band on the field again, but I don't I mean, I don't even know who's on campus right now. So
Yeah. Well, you just answered Rick's question. He wanted to know if the band will be on the field. So, that. All right. Any other questions for Hank? All right. Well, Hank, this is your first time that you've been here with Grid Club as an opposing sports writer. And we do have a little tradition of our last question. And you must answer the question. You cannot wiggle your way out of it. The question is, what is your score prediction for the game?
I was actually thinking about this earlier, and so I said Stanford 27, Cal 24, and just I think that if another thing to watch for for Stanford is, are they getting into the end zone? That's been they've had a hard time finishing drives, and this has been something that's been lingering. We saw that last year also, but just if Stanford can get into the end zone, that's a good thing. So I'm hoping for 3 touchdowns and a couple field goals, which might be, I don't know. Just to be honest with you, I don't at this point really know what to expect when I sit down to watch a Stanford game, and that was one of the things that I loved about watching Stanford football, over the previous 8 or 9 years, is there was, even if we were going up against a great team and it was going to be a fight, I knew what I was going I knew what I was going to see, and I don't really know what I'm going to see on Friday from Stanford, and so if we get in the end zone 3 times, I'll be really happy with that.
Okay, so what's the score prediction?
27-24.
27-24. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I don't think anybody knows anymore what we can expect from anybody this year. It's a really hard to it's really hard to predict. And I was noticing that again on this past Saturday for Cal, is that we really were stalling in the red zone a lot. So should be interesting. All
Hey,
right.
can I ask one question of anybody who wants to answer it?
Sure. Go ahead.
I was wondering if you could tell me the significance of last year's win for you.
Oh, wow.
Huge.
Go ahead, Patty.
No, that's all. It was huge.
It was huge. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just, those droughts are murder. And droughts, quite frankly, like that are coach firing events. You see that. I mean, that you can win games a lot, but if you can't win the big game, that's tough. But breaking a streak, Dave's saying is we broke the streak, and now we're looking to start our own streak now. But no, I personally, I think that the feeling as we left Stanford Stadium last year, everybody was just was just elated. I mean, it was just huge. The frustration of not winning the big game is so enormous, and doing it year after year after year, when it finally the streak breaks, it's just like the heavens open up. So if anybody else wants to chime in. Yeah. People commenting in chat. Yeah. Right. So that's kind of, I think that's how it was for us.
Yeah, I saw that Greg is commenting in the chat, and this is, I think, the reason that I asked is because I did see lots of videos, up after the game of just people on the field um, and celebrating, but not just celebrating the win, but it was a bigger deal than just winning a game, even a bigger deal than just winning big game. Like, it's always great to win big game, right? But I was struck by that. And as disappointing as it was for me as a fan, and obviously hoping that streak could go on and on and on. I was struck by the emotion that I saw from from so many Cal fans, on that day. So that's why I wanted to ask that.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think that in a lot of ways, because even though, the Holy Grail is the Rose Bowl, the Rose Bowl isn't what it used to be. It's just not the same Rose Bowl. I mean, we still want to get there, and it's still, that's our big goal. But in a lot of ways, every year, the big game is our Rose Bowl. So winning it it's a big deal for us.
Yeah. I think that when Cal gets to the Rose Bowl, I think you'll say something different.
It could be, yeah.
I think you will. Because the Rose Bowl is and I don't mean this in a condescending way in the least, but I remember vividly going to the Rose Bowl and thinking that I hadn't imagined that I would get to see Stanford in a Rose Bowl. When I went for the first time in 2000, and yeah, I mean, the Rose Bowl is a special thing even now. And I agree with you that it's that it changes every single year. Well, not every year, but every once in a while it's not our Rose Bowl, right? And I wish that weren't the case, but that's the one thing that David Shaw, there's been, Stanford has lost 6 games in a row, and there is some rising discontent in the fan base about David Shaw. Personally, I keep thinking that, I've been to 3 Rose Bowls in the last 8 years, and that's because of David Shaw. And so he has a lot of equity built up with me, and I can't really be too critical of him.
Well, Hank, thanks so much for being with us. You're welcome to stay. We've got a great speaker coming up right now. But we really appreciate hearing your thoughts, and let's hope for a great game on I was going to say on Saturday, but on Friday.
Thanks very much. I'd love to come back again if anybody's interested next year. But thank you very much. Enjoy the game on Friday, but don't enjoy it too much.
Okay.
Hope that things work out for me.
All right. Thanks, Hank.
Bye-bye.
All right. So we're going to move on to our main event for tonight. I was really thrilled when Robert said that he would join us for Grid Club and speak to us. A little story, in one moment, Robert was in the best day of his life, competing for the Collegiate Rugby National Championship. In the next moment, his life changed forever. Robert suffered a spinal cord injury in the first minutes of the game and found himself face down on the turf, unable to move anything below his neck. His doctor told him he would never walk or move his hands for the rest of his life. Through an unbreakable vision and relentless determination, Robert is defying the odds. He's graduated from Haas School of Business, is winning the fight to walk again, and he's sharing his method of how he overcomes quadriplegia. Every person faces challenges. Robert's are just visible. The skills Robert uses to overcome paralysis can be used by all to optimally perform. His message is one that inspires others to access their full potential and conquer their challenges, no matter how daunting they may seem. I think we, all of us that were there at the Oregon game when Robert was taking those steps, remembers it and will always remember it. So I am absolutely thrilled to welcome Robert Paylor to Sac Bears Cal fans.
Awesome.
Robert, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. And I tell you what, you sure know how to make me blush, but I'm so excited to be here today because two of my favorite things in life are Cal and Sacramento. And we got both here today. So this is a pretty good day. But I think this is a really cool opportunity because this is where I'm from. I grew up over in El Dorado Hills, over in the foothills, went to high school at Jesuit High School, which was my pathway to playing rugby and getting over to Cal. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard my story before. Some of you might have not, but almost all of you probably haven't heard it from my perspective and hear me really tell that story. So this is a really cool opportunity for me to share my experiences, but then also dive into this topic of overcoming adversity, which I think has even more value because the challenges we're dealing with right now in this world are absolutely immense. I mean, we're in the midst of a global pandemic. Our country's been dealing with a lot of severe divisiveness, and that's on top of what we already have to deal with in our day-to-day lives. So I also want to talk about challenges for a second, because when I think a lot of us hear that word challenges, we think of something just negative, right? You've fallen and you're trying to pick yourself back up. But I want to point out that a goal is also a challenge. You know, achieving success, sustaining success, that's a challenging thing to do. Now, I know you can't all see me head to toe on here right now, so I'll go ahead and share my screen. One moment. Hey, Gary, I don't know if it's, let me see. I need to have access granted to share my screen. Let me see. Sorry about that, technical difficulties.
Yeah, I think you'd have to make him the host, Gary.
Let me see. Oh, you know what? It may be on my end. So sorry about that. Let me see.
You should be the host now, so.
Yeah. I see. Okay, we're live. But this is me. I'm in a wheelchair, right? I am by definition a quadriplegic. And when you look at me, you can see my challenges. I mean, you might be thinking like, how does Robert get up in the morning? You know, how does he like even get out of bed? You might also be thinking like, gosh, I wonder how nice that handicap parking must be, or like, what's it like to skip the line at the DMV? You know, so like there's perks. It's not all bad, obviously. Jokes aside, my challenges present themselves visually. What you see, it's what I have. I have to deal with it every second of every day. But for most of us, others can't see what we go through. The adversity, those desires, they lie within us. And usually nobody has any clue that it's even going on. But whether our challenges are visible or not, we all have to deal with them every second of every day. So I want to have us pause for a moment here. I'm going to ask you a question. I hope you can write down the answer to this question for you. I also hope you can write down some notes throughout this presentation. I really want this time that we have together to last, but I want you to answer, what paralyzes you? And what paralyzes you? Maybe not in the physical sense, like for me, but what paralyzes you mentally or emotionally from moving forward every moment? Is it the stress of everything that's going on with COVID right now? Is it a dramatic relationship you might have in your life? Is it maybe a lack of purpose? Now, if you have something, please write that down and keep it in mind as I share with you my life's greatest challenge and the things that I've learned over these last 3.5 years. I hope they can be useful to you so we can all overcome whatever life throws our way. Let me take you back to May 6, 2017 in Santa Clara, California. I didn't know it then, but I will forever remember this day better than any day in my life. Now, it's the day of the 2017 Collegiate Rugby National Championship, and I had worked so hard in my athletic career. I made my way to a starting spot as a sophomore on the #1 team in the nation, which is no easy or common thing to do, right? And I loved rugby. I mean, I love just like being a big guy. I'd like blush when people call me Big Bob. I mean, so much of my worth, so much of my accomplishment, it just came from being a rugby player. Now, I remember waking up kind of got that feeling in my stomach where like it's nerves, but it's excitement too. Like you're ready to go. You know that feeling when you've had a big competition like this or anything that's just big in life. Remember getting in the bus, we bussed over to the University of Santa Clara over at Stevens Stadium. And it's kind of a mild, cloudy day, which is just perfect rugby weather. Remember getting out of that bus, going over to the locker room, getting taped up with my teammates. There's kind of that low murmur of chatter going on. And we walked out in a single file line to have a pregame warm up, and we're just firing on all cylinders. We're talking about how we're going to beat this team, how we're going to bring home the trophy. You can see here during the national anthem, in my mind, I'm praying the Our Father and Psalms 23, as I always did before I played. Remember I said Jesuit high school Catholic boy? Now, we won the coin toss and we wanted to kick it off. You know, we wanted to hit them first. So we all lined up. Referee raises his hand. He blows his whistle and I'm sprinting down that field. It's national championship time. Let's go, Robert. Put it all out there. Now, a moment later in this game, I'm competing in a mall. And for those of you who haven't seen a rugby game before, who don't know rugby, a mall is when the bigger guys, we group together in this single unit and we push as the single unit to advance the ball. Defense's job is to come straight in and stop us from pushing forward. And I'm a big guy. I mean, this is what I do. This is my purpose on this field. I move people that don't want to be moved. You know, 6'5", 240 pounds. Like I operate in this boiler room. We're just 5 meters out from scoring. I mean, I'm practically drilling here on this field, thinking, let's go, Rob, drive this thing in. But as I'm doing this, the opposing players started making some illegal moves and referee's not calling it. You can see on your screen here, 3 people coming from the side, all minor infractions, not being called. Another player goes and he binds my head in a headlock. He's pinning my chin to my chest. Now, normally this would warrant an automatic yellow or red card, a suspension from the game, but still, ref's not calling it. Number 6 comes in at the bottom of your screen there. He chops me down by my legs and I get illegally rode all the way down to the ground until I close my eyes, I grip my teeth and then snap. My face slams against my chest and I immediately can't feel or move anything below my neck. I'm lying there screaming. You can see the whites of my teeth as I shriek in horror, looking at my numb and limp body, doing everything I can to get up, but I can't move a thing. Now, it's hard to explain that terror. And I swear you can feel it in your bones when you're in a living nightmare and there's nothing you can do to wake up, nothing you can do to escape. I mean, shoot, you could have pinched me and I wouldn't feel it. This was unreal. There's no way this could be happening to me. These aren't my plans in life. I'm a rugby player. You know, I want to go out. I want to play professionally. I want to graduate from UC Berkeley. I'm not a quadriplegic. No way, not me. No way, not me. Now, I've seen these stories on TV and in the newspaper before. I'm sure you've all seen them too, where this happens to someone. They break their neck. They can't move or feel anything. And you get these progress updates years later. And these poor unfortunate souls, they just don't really get better. I'm thinking, this might be me. I mean, I immediately start questioning all my goals. They all feel in jeopardy. Am I going to be able to go back to Cal, see my friends, you know, get my degree and walk across the stage? Am I going to meet a girl and get married and start a family, have a career? And more importantly, am I going to be able to feed myself again? Walk? My mind's racing and my face is in the dirt and I'm struggling to even breathe. Now, my trainers and doctors, they rush over to me and they're trying to assess the situation saying, Robert, can you feel this? Robert, can you move anything? My answer is just no, nothing. I'm stretchered off the field and rushed over to the hospital where we took some medical imaging. I'll have my doctor come back and he told me the worst thing I could have heard. He said, Robert, your injury's bad, really bad. And the reality is you will never walk again. You will never move your hands. And we're going to do our best. So you can do something like pick up a piece of pizza and bring it to your face. If you can do that, you made it. If you can do that, then you beat the odds. Now, he doesn't even stop there. He says he also recommends surgery to me, emergency surgery that we need to go in and complete quickly. My spine was so destabilized, there was so much swelling going on that it would only get worse unless I went into the surgery. But here's the catch, as there always is. It's a potentially life-threatening surgery. I didn't have a lot of choices. And I knew one thing in that moment, and that's I wanted to get better. So I needed to complete this surgery. So I said my prayers. I said goodbye to my family. I got rolled into the operating room. I closed my eyes, not knowing if it would be the last time. I opened them, and the surgery, it actually couldn't have gone better. Like, the doctor totally did it, but I had to start fighting for my life. Now, I couldn't swallow anything, which means I couldn't eat or drink. I had to lay back helplessly and watch as my body just withered away. All those years I put into building up my size, building up my physical strength, it was just shot. I lost 60 pounds that first month. Now, on day 2, I contracted pneumonia, which is particularly dangerous because I couldn't cough. I mean, my diaphragm was mostly paralyzed. My cough was nothing more than ha, ha. Now, the prescription was to have my nurses and family slam down on my chest. I'm doing everything they can to move this stuff out of my lungs just so I can breathe. I was told I might not even survive. Now, I want to pause for a second because I realize that I've said like I a million times to this point, and I want to point out that nothing important is accomplished alone. There's not a moment that I spent by myself. I had family, friends, complete strangers coming to visit me, giving me their love, giving me their support. My mom slept on the chair by my bedside every single night for 6 months. I mean, 6 months, she slept in a chair. She was someone to talk to. She scratched my nose when it itched, and she wiped my tears when I cried. I couldn't have done it without her. I could not have done it without all that support. I wasn't doing well, but I was fighting through it. And once I was medically stabilized, we started thinking about where I was going to do my rehab, where I was really going to fight out of this thing. This was always going through my head, how I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to beat the odds. And so we looked for the best facility in the United States of America. That's a place called Craig Hospital in Denver, Colorado. I show up to Craig, and this place is different. I mean, these people look at me and they see potential, not some broken body. My first conversation with my doctors, they said, Robert, yes, what happened to you is terrible. We don't know where this thing's going from here. I mean, you might walk out of these doors one day. You very well might not. But the one thing we will guarantee you is we're going to give you everything that modern science and medicine has to offer to maximize your recovery. So these people, they gave me a chance. They gave me hope. And hope is so powerful. And man, I went for it. Now, it was 8 to 9 hours of really intense rehabilitation a day. It's the hardest I've ever worked at something in my life. I'm trying to get something that can't move to move. That just so happens to be about 85% of my body. In the coming months, I went from no motion at all to twitching a finger and twitching a toe to a year later. That's about 365 days I spent working in that hospital. I was able to get up into my walker with assistance, and I walked out of the hospital doors. I did the impossible. Remember what that doctor said about me being lucky to pick up a piece of pizza and bring it to my face? Well, check this out. Man, I crushed that goal. I guarantee you that is not the last time. I think about it every single time I have a pizza pie. But fast forwarding even further, Gary was just talking about this beautiful moment that many of us shared in the Cal versus Oregon game back in 2018. It was a very warm welcome that I received, and 50,000 people all standing up, all cheering their butts off. And we got Golden Bears, we got Ducks. Such a beautiful moment for everyone in attendance. And the crazy thing is this is just a microcosm of the support that I have received. When I couldn't walk, and when I couldn't carry myself, I had all these people carrying me, moving me forward, getting me to where I want to be in life. I am just eternally grateful to this community and everything they've done, because it is the most loving and beautiful community I could ever wish for. And also, when I see this, I just think, man, I can't wait to get back out there. I'm sure you all can't wait to. Just, it's such an incredible thing. Fast forwarding even more. I was able to graduate from UC Berkeley this last May. I just graduated from the Haas School of Business, earning my degree while also continuing at my rehab to where I can now stand up out of my wheelchair, into my walker on my own and walk up to 300 yards. Now, I've been at this for 1,298 days. So this journey is long and it's difficult and it's not over yet. But I'm making progress and I'm not giving up. Like I said, this is my challenge, but we all have challenges in our lives. There's two things that I want to share with you today that have helped me to overcome quadriplegia that I hope we can all use to overcome whatever life throws our way. Now, the first thing we have to do to overcome life's challenges is control our mindset. And when I first got hurt and I was thinking about whether to go in that surgery or not, I was scared. I was completely helpless. I needed advice. I needed support. So the first phone call I made was to my religious advisor. I detailed what happened. I asked for prayers. I asked for advice. And thank goodness I did, because the advice he gave me that day carried me since then. And I keep it in mind today. He said, Robert, throughout this journey, there's going to be a lot of things that you just can't control. But the one thing you will always have control over is your mindset. So your positivity, your attitude, your willingness to get up every single day and accept this challenge and fight is up to you. No circumstance can take that away from you. As long as you have breath in your lungs, blood in your veins, and a clear head on your shoulders, you can control your mindset. Now, controlling our mindset through adversity, while I firmly believe it's possible, I also believe it's difficult, right? It's not an easy thing to do. There's some steps that I've taken to help control my mindset, and I want to share with you today. First step is just make a decision. You know, in life, things happen, right? Bad things are going to happen to us, and we can't control that. But I firmly believe that no matter what external circumstances are coming upon us, we can always choose how we react. We can always choose to react in a way that makes us better. We always have that power. And I can prove this because when you look at this picture, what do you see? I mean, you see a pretty good looking dude, right? Huh? I know that's what you're all thinking. No, I mean, seriously, I've got tubes everywhere. I'm in bed 24/7. I can't move anything at this point. Like, I'm an absolute mess. You know what else you can see? There's a smile on my face. There's a real conscious decision being made in my head right there that I'm not going to let this thing beat me. I'm going to control my mindset in this situation. I don't care how broken my body is. I will not let this thing break my mind. Now, when we make this decision, I want to point out that it's not just a one-off thing in our entire life and then we're done. No, it's a series of decisions that we have to make every single day. But the key point to remember is no matter what we're going through, we have the power to react in a way that makes us better. The second thing to help us control our mindset is to have a mental diet. Now, we all understand the physical diet, right? It's nasty in, nasty out, or if we eat well, we will perform well. I think the same thing goes for our minds. The more we take in negative information, we allow negative thoughts to cycle through our mind, the more negative we're just going to be as people, the less able we are to take on life's challenges. Just as the more positive information we take in, the more positive affirmations we give ourselves, those more positive actions we take every single day, the more positive we're going to be as people, the more able we are to take on life's challenges. Now, when I was in that first hospital, I had all these people saying, Robert, you'll never walk again. You'll never move your hands. The sooner you realize that, the better it's going to be for your mental health. And that statement is ridiculous. And that statement is poison to the mental diet. Now, when I ask you, what's your mental diet? We should be able to answer that question. You know, we should really have deliberate things that we do every single day to feed our minds with positivity. So I encourage you, talk to those people you enjoy talking to. Do those things that make you feel better. I really encourage you to keep a gratitude journal. This is something that I started doing really early on. Write down 3 things at the end of every single day that you were grateful for. It can be something as big as the Cal Bears just beat Stanford in the big game, which I know we're going to be able to write down, or something as small as it was sunny outside today, and I'm grateful for that. I guarantee you that as we continue to do these things, we will be more positive people and we will be more able to control our mindsets. Just as we have to feed our bodies to optimally perform, we have to feed our minds to take on life's challenges. Now, the third thing I want to talk about to help us control our mindset is to focus on the controllables. Now, there's two broad categories of these things in life, right? There's the things we can control and the things we can't control. The controllables and uncontrollables, we'll call them. And we as humans, we have this limited capacity of what we can focus on. So the more we focus on the things that we don't have, the things that we can't do anything about, those uncontrollables, the less we can focus on the things that we do have, the things that can make us better, those things we can control. This was a real challenge for me throughout my recovery. I'm not in this situation today because of an accident. No, it was the intentional actions of another human being to break the laws of our game, and because of it, I am paralyzed. You can bet when I'm looking at pictures and videos of someone wrenching me down illegally by my neck and driving my skull into the turf, my instinct is to be angry. My instinct was always to hate that person. This guy's never reached out to me. He's never said he's sorry. I'll tell you this. I forgive him whether he is sorry or not. I realized that the more hate I gave to this person, the more I focused on what he did to me, the more power I gave to him, and the less power I could give to myself. Just as when I focused on all those situations I couldn't control, like how I couldn't be back at Cal, how I couldn't see my friends, how I couldn't play rugby anymore, the more I focused on that, the less I could focus on the things that I did have, the things that are going to make me better. So I ask you, is there someone you need to forgive in your life? Is there a situation that you can't control that's holding you back? Forgive that person. Let go of that situation. Look forward and never turn back. Now, the second and final principle that I want to talk about today to help us overcome life's challenges is to practice perspective. Now, perspective is actually kind of this tricky tool because it goes both ways. Now, we can look at this picture right here. Now, we just pounded in this huge mall versus St. Mary's, number 1 versus number 3 team in the country in this game. You can see me, I'm the big guy in the front right, just screaming my butt off. I can look at that moment and compare it to what I'm going through right now and think, there's no way around it. My life sucks, right? I mean, my life's absolutely terrible in a lot of ways when I compare it to that. Or we can look at this picture. This was the first time in 3 weeks when I was able to sit up in a chair for more than 30 minutes without passing out. At that time, I was so weak. I had so many breathing problems that if I sat upright for more than 10 minutes, my vision would start to go. I would start to black out. And I can look in my eyes and know that in that moment, I would have given just about anything to have what I have right now. Let's choose that perspective. Let's choose that because it shows us how far we've come, how amazing it is to be doing what we're doing right now, how far we can go. Now, the first way for us to practice perspective, and I just alluded to it right now, is through our own personal experiences. The reality is, to get to this moment today, we have all had to overcome significant challenges. And whether we realize it or not, those challenges, they've made us stronger. So when something hits you in life, like a difficult work project, a dramatic relationship, and it can be something as small as your phone just ran out of battery and you forgot your charger at home, when we can take a step back, look at the things that we've overcome and say, I've done harder things, helps us to realize how resilient we are and how much we can achieve. Now, the second way for us to practice perspective is through others' experiences. You know, I actually have a lot of down moments in my life, and there's plenty of times when I'm looking around and I see people walking all around me, and I've fought so hard to have this ability, and I'm feeling sorry for myself. So I get on my phone and I don't look up videos of puppies and rainbows now. I'll look up cancer patients, complete quadriplegics, people with ALS, homeless people who are going through terrible situations, just a situation that nobody should ever have to go through. I'm looking at them, explain how they make their lives happen every single day, usually with a smile on their face. And I just think, damn, remind me not to complain about anything ever again. If these people were in our situation, would they be upset that they have to go work out, or excited that they get to go work out? Mad that they have to stay at home, or excited that they get to stay at home, that they get to be home. There's this saying that I just live by in my life. It's just the mantra of my life. So if y'all haven't written anything down, please write this one thing down. And if you don't remember anything else throughout this presentation, then please remember this one thing. When things get tough, I want us to think, compared to what? So when we say, oh man, I'm so tired. Well, compared to what? Wow, this is a lot that I'm dealing with right now, but compared to what? The reality is there are millions of people in this world who would rather be in our situation than theirs. That's perspective. Allow me this one final thought. Maybe what happened to me on May 6th of 2017 is not the worst thing that's ever happened to me. There's no doubt that if I didn't get injured, my life would have had its share of joy and successes, but I don't think there's any way that I'd have the meaning that I find in my life now. My life's purpose is so significant because I have an ability and a desire to make a positive impact on the lives of others. And I have something that I wake up to every single day and think this goal is worth fighting for. This challenge is worth giving everything that I have to overcome. If we can draw upon what I laid out today, control our mindset, practice perspective, we can all access that purpose. There's no challenge too great for us to overcome. Thank you. Crowd goes wild.
The crowd does go wild. Robert, fantastic story. Fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here today and deliver it to you all.
It's amazing. I know we've got, I'm rolling back here. We've got some questions. We're coming in here. Paul would like to know, actually, I'm gonna let people ask themselves. Paul, you have the first question up here. Do you want to go ahead?
Please do.
Yeah, Robert, congratulations and thank you. That was just wonderful.
Thank you so much.
I want to figure out a way to share your message with my kids. But I have to ask, did the players who caused the injury and the refs who failed to call a foul, did they receive any consequences from the National Rugby Organization?
No, and that is a whole nother can of worms. So, I mean, you guys saw the pictures, right? And I didn't even show you the videos and stuff. And, at first, when this all happened, it was very unclear how it all happened. It's very dark in those malls and it happened very quickly. But it was just a couple of days after the match that this evidence started to produce itself, where it was blatantly a bind around my neck. And USA Rugby states on their website that there's a couple non-negotiable red cards in rugby. And one of them is no binds or contact whatsoever with the head or neck. You do that, you're out. You just got a suspension. Now, obviously, we assumed that there would be an investigation. This was the national championship. It was on national television. I mean, this is the pinnacle of collegiate rugby in America, where this match happened. Jack Clark, longstanding rugby coach for Cal Berkeley, a very influential and well-respected person in Cal Rugby, just had to browbeat USA Rugby, our governing body, to just open an investigation. And after a month, they finally opened one. And then 5 months later, they came back and said, we don't see anything that's penalizable by red card offense to the perpetrator, which was Arkansas State's number 8 that had me in that bind. In fact, we put Robert at fault because his head was below his shoulder level when he was driving in that mall, which granted is a penalty, but not when you're being bound and torqued down into that position. They did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. And I think what's the saddest thing about it is not the closure that I could have had or anything like that, because I broke my neck and I'm never going to play rugby ever again. I'm so grateful just to be able to walk around my house now for short distances. And I'm working so hard to be able to do that more. But what's most important is there are millions of people out there playing rugby, hundreds of thousands in America. USA Rugby, they govern professional all the way down to youth. And these decisions, they set a precedent, right? And that precedent in my case is it doesn't matter how much proof there is against you. It doesn't matter how bad the outcome is or what rule you break. If you get away with it in the moment, you're good. you can paralyze someone for the rest of your life and we're not going to do anything. It was pretty disgusting how that all unfolded. It was just a couple months ago that they released a statement saying that their process should have been different. Keep in mind, everyone, this is 3 years that it took them to make this statement. But they still wouldn't say that it was a red card offense. So it's very disappointing, but I do my best every single opportunity I can to talk about how important these rules are, because we can go out there and we can play a very physical game, but we can do it safely. And these rules, they're here for a reason. And when you got players or coaches who are going out there and, encouraging them to do dirty stuff, and, they're going out there and they're trying to put someone on a stretcher, that's not cool. And that's not funny, because these things are very real. They can happen to my friends. They can happen to my little brother who's playing rugby, because it happened to me. So I was very disappointed with their response, but we do our best over here at Cal to promote safe play and learn from this experience to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Good statement. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Paul, the way you can share this, we are recording it. So
yeah.
you will be able to share it. And Robert, just to mention that that your coach Jack Clark actually came and spoke at the Grid Club a few years ago.
Did he?
He's been up here. Yeah, he was terrific. Told some great stories.
Yeah, that's a blessing. He is just the salt of the earth. He's incredible.
Oh, he is. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Joe, whose virtual background is actually clairvoyant to Friday, I had a question. You're muted, Joe.
Okay, how's that?
That's better.
Perfect.
All right, Robert. Yeah, thanks so much for the words, and I'm glad it's being recorded so both of my sons, who are Jesuit graduates, can watch it on their own time. But
awesome.
I understand, the rugby community is very close-knit, very tight. Can you talk a little bit about how, the national rugby community has supported you through this whole ordeal?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's such an amazing thing and important part of this story. I always, as much as I can, try to point out this world of support that I've received. So much of it stems from Cal and that athletics community, much of it from the greater Bay Area and Sacramento, but globally in this rugby community. Rugby is kind of one of these interesting things because it's kind of still one of these offbeat sports in America. And gosh, it doesn't matter like how many differences you have with someone. If you like have that commonality of playing rugby, you're just like family right away. And, one of our family fell down and couldn't get back up. And that was me. And this community just rallied around me tremendously. I'd be talking to my teammates, and we have a global team also, right? We have people from all over the country and all over the world who are coming over to play really elite rugby over at UC Berkeley. And I was talking to a buddy, he's over in Maryland, and he was out at like some event and he's wearing, a Cal shirt or something. The guy comes up, he's like, hey, do you ball? And he's like, yeah, I play sports. And, what sport? And I play rugby. And the guy's like, oh my gosh, have you heard of Robert Paylor? He's like, yeah, absolutely. I know Robert Paylor. We live together. Like, he's one of my best friends. And, my rugby club over in down in Virginia is having a fundraiser for him. We're going to have a barbecue and raise some money for his rehabilitation fund. People on the other side of the country that I didn't even know. Over in England, I'd hear the same exact story. And it's just so beautiful how this all came together. I've got my jersey right behind me. I forgot to mention that this is the jersey that they cut off of my body on May 6, 2017. But if I can, I don't know if I can do it or not, start to move this around, but this is the New Zealand All Blacks jersey right there. World Cup team right next to it. That's Danny Barrett. He's another Cal guy. That was his dream team jersey when he was nominated the best in his position in the world for that tournament over at Hong Kong Sevens. And I got things all the way from like this Modesto rugby clubs and stuff like that. It piles all the way to my ceiling. It's just overwhelming, that support I received, and just goes to show what an awesome sport it is, just what an awesome community it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Robert, you've got a lot of comments, not really questions, that are in chat. I'll let you read those on your own here. But the next question we have is from Lisa. Lisa, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Sorry. Yeah, I wanted to find out if you reach out to other individuals who've experienced a traumatic spinal or head injury. We have friends of ours whose son was a Folsom High football player, who is recovering and has been at Craig Hospital.
I know
So,
exactly who that is, actually. Yeah, I do. He had a traumatic brain injury. I think I remember.
Yes.
Yeah, as much as I can, I try to do that. You know, a lot of times these stories end up coming to me with people, you know, who are related or have a friendship with someone who has gone through something like this. And every chance I can, I take it, because that message that my doctors gave me, that the first doctor I had, that I told you, that said I would never walk again, that said I would never move my hands. Thank goodness I didn't listen to him, because if I did, I wouldn't be in this situation. And I know why people do that. And they're trying to help me, right? They're trying not to give me false hope. But I think what is equally, if not more devastating, is giving someone false hopelessness. I mean, just think where I would be today if I would have listened to that guy's words. I certainly wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be walking. I wouldn't be moving my hands. I probably wouldn't have graduated from Cal and walked on that field over in the Cal versus Oregon football game. I don't even know if I would have survived. My life wasn't even certain at one point. So every chance I can, I take it to tell someone that you don't know if you're going to get better, right? I don't know. I might stay in my wheelchair for the rest of my life. That might happen. I can't look anybody behind and say that I know I'm going to get out of my wheelchair permanently for the rest of my life. But I do know that if I don't do anything about it, if I don't put in the work, I'm not going to get better. I want to be the guy who believes in people, who tells them that they do have a shot, they do have a chance. Be realistic. It's going to take some work. It's going to be the hardest you ever worked in your life. But there is hope. And honestly, I'll also say, wheelchair or not, life is so amazing, so incredible. I live a very happy life, spending most of my time in my wheelchair. It's really just a way of getting from point A to point B. And whether that's on wheels or on my feet, I'm still working hard to make sure I have the best life possible. And I want to show other people that they can do that too.
Great. So Steve Scott has a question.
Yeah.
Steve?
Oh, sorry. Just kind of get a bit off topic here. Just as a marauder, I got to ask: have there been a Holy Bowl this year? Predict the score.
Oh my gosh! Can we say Jesuit High 54, Christian Brothers? We'll give them 3. I mean, I don't know. They won last year, but Jesuits usually dominating the Holy Bowl. I don't know if we have any CB fans over here, but yeah, that's always such a fun game. It's so cool. And yeah, as of late, Jesuits done pretty well, but I know last year CB took it. I don't know what the heck happened with that game. I wasn't able to go back and watch it. But yeah, I say Jesuit domination. I say that's the only time I'll wear red, is if I go back to a high school function.
I can feel you. The only time I'll say go big red.
Totally.
3 points is generous, but thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Robert, you actually answered in advance Rick's question. He was asking if the jersey behind you was the one that was cut off.
Yeah.
And I want to just say that I appreciate your continuing this new Zoom tradition that we had. You're the third speaker in a row that has showed us around. All the stuff there. So I think we're going to have to now ask our future speakers to make sure that they show us around the house.
Absolutely.
But I just wanted to say that the jersey behind, that's very powerful.
Yeah.
That is a very, very powerful visual to have.
Mm-hmm. It's poetic. I mean, you can see the cuts in there, but it's put back together, and that's day 1, and this is day 1298. How far things have come. I mean, I couldn't even feel it when they were taking off that jersey. My life wasn't certain at that point, and to just think of everything that's happened from the moment that was taken off me to now, I couldn't even trade it in. I mean, if I had a magic genie or something that said, "Hey, Robert, we can go back to that day, May 6, 2017, and you'll drive that mall right through to the tri-zone, and you'll raise that trophy with your teammates like you deserved," I honestly would say no, that I couldn't do that, because an experience like this and all these amazing people who have just touched my heart, and this ability to inspire others too, it turns it into a net positive, to where breaking my neck is not the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Breaking my neck ended up almost being a good thing. It ended up, and I will honestly say that to be here, to share my story with you all, to read these comments and see the engagement, it makes it all worth it. All those years I've put in now to get to this moment today, worth it to have this opportunity. So I'm the grateful one. I really am.
Your story is amazing. In the comments, there are questions coming. I'll let you read them that are in chat. There are days that we remember, and I started going to Cal football games in 1974. So I've seen a lot of games in Memorial Stadiums and a lot of amazing ones, and there's just certain images that you'll never forget.
Yeah.
And certainly a day in November, actually, I think is just around this time, about in 1982, for Big Game is one we'll all remember. And including the 4.5 million people that claimed they were actually there that day in Memorial Stadium. But I was truly one of them. I can attest to that. Is one of them. But another one was the day, that Oregon game, and the fact that we remember who we were even playing. The Oregon game, when you took those steps, is going to be something I think we're all going to remember. Anybody that was there will remember seeing that. And I think one of the things that that was so powerful about it was not just you, but that even the Oregon fans were all on their feet and cheering. Everybody was just so proud of you. Yeah. And and how you're representing the university and all that you've done. So we're so grateful. Anybody else have any questions for Robert?
And also, everyone, if you don't have any questions in the chat, I implore you, please reach out to me. My website's www.robertpaylor.com. There's a chat feature on there. That's just, like I said earlier, this is like my purpose in life. Now, this is the thing that keeps me going. So I love interacting with everyone. But also, Gary, I'll add one thing onto that University of Oregon game, and I wouldn't tell this to anybody else. So make sure y'all don't go around telling everyone. But
you realize this is being recorded.
yeah. No, I'm just joking around. You can tell the whole world. But when I went onto that field, and we knew exactly what I was going to do. It was the first TV timeout. I was going to go right to where they had the 10-yard line. 10 yards from the sideline and 10 yards from the end zone. And I was going to get up and I was going to walk and I'm going to wave, and we did the dry run and everything. And then you put 50,000 people in the stands, and, I'm kind of nervous. Like, this is a big deal. So I get over there, and at that time I had to be assisted to be able to stand up. I couldn't do it on my own at that time. So my rugby coach, Coach Billups, who's our strength and conditioning coach. I mean, I got to do a whole nother presentation on how amazing this guy is. He did all my rehab while I was over at Cal. He, puts his knees in front of mine. He stands up, and usually we kind of spend like a second just to do like a systems check, make sure we're all good. But over the noise and the excitement, kind of went out a little early, and my hips weren't fully under me. So I go like, whoa, 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 like as loud as I can. And my knees, I have like a spasm, and I go into like a cannonball position. I mean, I'm like going to the dirt. Everybody's on their feet, like eyeballs just lasered in on me. I'm thinking, this is how the world ends, right? You got to be kidding me. I had never fallen before to that point, and I was hitting the deck, and Coach Billups, big, strong guy, works out every single day, gives me like a big old bear hug and like lifts my frame back up. And, I walk the rest of it, and like the video's all there of the beautiful moments and stuff. But just a couple of seconds before that, it was almost the end of the world for me.
It's a great story. So we all know the inside. That's why we come to Grid Club, so we can hear the inside stories. So,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, Robert, we can't thank you enough. this and you know there are just like that moment in Memorial Stadium. I think that there have been speakers over the years that that I think we all remember and stand out, and we just had that moment tonight. Your story is amazing. You tell it beautifully. I'm so pleased that you were here with us tonight, and I think everybody else is of the same mindset as you look through the comments in chat. So I hope, you know, you're on the mailing list. So we hope we see you every week. And I know that I speak for everybody here that we wish you absolutely only the best. I don't think that you need the good luck, but we're going to give it to you anyway. You're fantastic, and we are so proud that you're a Bear.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everyone, and go Bears.
Go Bears. All right, everybody. Thank you all for joining us again tonight. So I hope we see you again. Registrations, the links are there for registration for next week for Wednesday for Dave Lambros. So with that, let's all be watching on Friday so we can keep the axe. And with that, let's say good big go Bears and good night, everybody. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Go Bears.
Bears. Robert, thanks again.
Go Bears. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Keep the axe.
It's ours.
Thanks, Gary.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Glad you could make it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Go Bears.